Good morning friends and welcome to the pre-market view. Friends, the US markets were down about 0.5% as the data on the manufacturing sector were negative and the ISM manufacturing index contracted for the third consecutive month. The important thing to note from a US market perspective is that the Facebook stock actually went all-time low to almost 17.73, which means that there is an erosion of more than 58% in the market cap of the company. Whereas the Apple stock reached almost $675 as the company is planning to launch iPhone 5 on September 12th in California. Talking about the European markets, they were also down about 1 to 1.5% because of the combination of events. Of course, first was that the US data were negative. Also ahead of the important ECB meet on 6th of September, the markets are cautious and not sure of what kind of bond buying program can happen in the current environment because too many technicalities are involved, too many countries are involved. So what kind of plan one can really put in place to support the Eurozone is something which is not very clear. Also friends, day before yesterday, the Moody's had also warned that the AAA rating that some of the Eurozone members are enjoying may no longer be available in the current scenario. So a combination of these factors helped the market going down. Looking at the other asset classes, crude continues to remain around 114 odd and the euro is at above 1.25. Talking about the flows friends, yesterday FIs were net buyers to the tune of almost 325 crore and even the domestic institutions were buyers to the tune of about 160 crore. And because of that, probably we saw some kind of a spike in the index towards the end in the last about 45 minutes to an hour's time, but no major runaway rallies in the market as such. So on that note, let me invite Shaival to take us through important F&O cues we are working with and what kind of ideas can we look at in the current environment. Hi Shaival, good morning.
Good morning.
Overall, it's been a range-bound market for a while. It's getting a little sticky around that level, and we did see some spike in the last, I think, about 1 hour or so. So what have you read of the overall movement in the market for the past few sessions?
See, first of all, I'd like to draw your attention towards the FIS flow. In futures and options segment, there have been net sellers of around 350 crore in yesterday's trade. But one thing which is interesting is that in stock options and in index options, they are net buyers. And even on Monday's trade also, they were net buyers in stock and index option, whereas there were sellers in index futures and stock futures. So that has been probably indicating that since there is an uncertainty with regards to policy inaction domestically as well as the global scenario is also uncertain, they've been trying to hedge their positions through options in both stocks and index as they feel that some uncertainty, and they've been a huge buyer, net buyer in previous month also and in current month also in the cash segment.
Right. And anything interesting that you've observed in terms of the strike around which the open interest has got built?
See, the implied volatility has almost remained flat. There's no major change in the IVs if we observe it from the strike perspective front, or even if we see the volatility index VIX, it has been it has reduced marginally or almost remained flat. Whereas if we focus on the strikes perspective front, 5,400 call option followed by 5,500 and 600 call option stands with the highest number of shares in the open interest and also has witnessed a good activity. Whereas on the lower side, what we have seen is that 5,200 put option followed by 5,000 put option has witnessed a good activity in open interest. So probably as there's not much coming in domestically as well as internationally, markets have been trading into a narrow band of 5,250 and say 5,350 on the higher side, because 5,350 is the volume weighted average price, 5,355 is the volume weighted average price. So what we feel is that those level would act as a resistance for the market, whereas on the lower side 5,200 which we are targeting would act as a good support for the market or would remain an important level to watch on the closing basis, because if those levels are taken off, then further downward would further gate for downside would open.
Right. Any specific ideas that we could look at in today's market?
See, we have identified two stocks from intraday perspective and one stock from positional perspective. As a bias for the market is negative, and we have also seen that SGX Nifty is trading down by more than 25 points. So we are expecting a negative opening. So one can go short on Voltas with resistance of 112.30 and Tata Communication with resistance of 231 rupees, whereas one can also buy ONGC put of strike 260 from buying with stop loss of 1 rupees 50 paise and target of 6 rupees and 9 rupees.
Right, Shreval, thanks a lot for that update.
Thank you.
Friends, back home our markets are also not showing any meaningful strength, and what we are seeing is that because of the negative news flow around the political situation, the overall sentiment continues to be down, but some section of the market believes that once the parliament session gets over on Friday, you could see the government taking up some important decisions with respect to the petroleum price hike and few other important steps that are to be taken, could be really taken up after this session gets over. Talking about the companies in the news today, friends, Tata Motors had some positive news, and JLR has recorded its best month in terms of growth in the US market with 31% kind of a growth, and also the company is planning to launch few more products in US over the next couple of months. So one could go long on Tata Motors with a stop loss of 230 and a target of about 242 to 247. IOC is planning to expand its capacity by investing almost about 50,000 crore. Also, we talked about the fact that after Friday, there is a possibility of the diesel and petrol price hike. So that could also be positive for a company like IOC and few other oil marketing companies. One can go long with a stop loss of 239 and a target of about 251 to 256. Friends, there are reports that the hotel industry has done well, and they have actually hiked the tariff by almost 12% in the first 6 months of the current year. So on the back of this news, one could go long on Indian Hotel with a stop loss of 57.75 and a target of about 61 to 62. Friends, ACC's dispatch numbers for August have been disappointing, and the company has registered a decline of almost 6.9%, and the stock is also looking weak technically. So one can go short with a stop loss of 1326 and a target of about 1261 to 1235. Friends, Sun Pharma has recalled one of its drug called nimodipine, which is marketed by Caraco in US, and though it's not a big development as such in terms of the overall revenue, etc., sentimentally this news are negative, so one can go short with a stop loss of 676 and a target of about 643 to 629. And in other news, fertilizer rates could be hiked over the next about 10 days or so, as it's going to happen in a cabinet meet, and this could be a positive news for companies like Jambal Fertilizers, PIC and National Fertilizers. That's it from all of us on the news front, friends. Have a nice trading session and see you tomorrow at the same time.